scored professional game of all time. If that gives you any, then I don't even know what to say. If you're a defensive coach, you probably just have to retire. Real quick, I don't want to make him wait any longer because Hendersonville had a big matchup with Ravenwood. We have the play-by-play announcer, Zach Williams, on the Cure Hotline. Zach, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, yeah, 110 points. That's I think there was 37 points scored in our game, so
Yeah.
just a little shy of that.
Zach, I'm a little like dopamine like rushed. I really don't know what to say. Just sitting here in the studio listening to this thing was absolutely insane. Well, how did Hendersonville Ravenwood look? I mean, was it a decent contest? I know Ravenwood ended up winning. I don't know by how much, but I mean, did the Commandos put up a fight?
So the Hendersonville Commandos fell. It was 27-10 final score in that one. The Commandos started off strong. It's a large passing attack. I believe Nashville Sports Radio will have a Ravenwood game here in just a few weeks. But y'all will hear from Chris Parson. He's a 3-star quarterback that's committed to Mississippi State to go play in the SEC. And he's throwing the ball around. He's able to move around with his feet. He has a big arm, really a lot of accuracy. And the Commandos are it's tough to compete with that. But they came out early. They drove down first drive of the night, scored. And then on the other end, got an interception on the first drive of the night by Ravenwood and went down and stalled out in the red zone, just not able to complete it. But this Commandos team, they felt like they could run the ball. Steven Mack, running back who I've talked about a ton, in the first half alone ended up with 15 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. In the second half, went on to put up around 170 yards on the ground tonight total for this team. It was an effort for the Commandos where it was right on their fingertips to win this game. They just could not corral themselves from getting penalties. That's one thing for sure. The Commandos just could not stop the penalties. It was an all-night thing, whether it was jumping too early or holding or something like that. They would have a chance to stop that high-powered offense on it'd be a 3rd down and 8, and they'd get a tackle for a loss in the backfield, but then they had jumped early, or just different penalties were popping up all over the place, and that's really what took the Commandos down. And then late in that ball game, it's very much akin to the Titans. Derrick Henry, obviously your best weapon. Same with Steven Mack in the running game for the Hendersonville Commandos. But when they get down by large sums like that late in the game, they're just not able to pass the ball down the field. The creativity kind of goes out the window, and it's a run-pass situation that they get into. And, when you have 8 minutes left in the game and you run it twice, you're running almost a minute 30 off the clock. When you're down 2 scores, that's an eternity. And the Commandos just not able to get outside of that scheme. That's something that I said on air, is that the scheme is getting in the way of a touchdown here because of that running style. They don't let Mason Baker, who had a good day over the air and on the ground as well, they give him about 2 different pass plays that they use, and it's either a go route out to Scott Ehrlich or it's something short and in the flat to Steven Mack. But he's got a good arm as well. I'd love to see if they opened up the playbook for him and they could get more favorable positions to be in than where they were against Ravenwood. But the scoreboard, don't let it fool you. They had a tremendous game and just a few different penalties that they could wipe away. We'd probably be looking at a different contest.
That's interesting. You mentioned the last 8 minutes and how the scheme kind of held it back, because Hendersonville still runs the wing T, correct?
Yeah, so they run the wing T, and they run a couple different variations of it where they're in wing T, but they go shotgun inside of the wing T set. So they run more variation than I've seen over my last 4 years of doing Hendersonville football, but they will go every once in a while, and this is kind of the problem, I feel like, is they try to go to a 4-wide set and more of a pass pro, and they just don't do it enough, Bruno, for high schoolers who you would understand that. Just sometimes high schoolers, multiple plays, you just get kind of lost, and you can kind of see it just setting up, that they're a little confused at times. But I don't know if it's not enough of practice or what it is, but it just definitely seems when they get in those situations, there's an air of confusion for
Yeah.
somebody on there, and that 1 week late causes a little bit of a problem in the whole chain.
I mean, absolutely. Football is an extremely mental game, man. If you want to, you look at these massive playbooks, and if you want to even have a chance at operating at a high level, you have to learn these playbooks. And that's why a lot of high school coaches, they run like 5 to 6 offensive formations and like 2 plays out of each. And that's it, So I definitely get why, because getting 11 people on the same page is hard enough when it's a college or a pros, I've seen it hard enough then. Imagine 11 high school Brunos and trying to teach them something past school after they sit in school for 8 hours. It's probably a headache. So you just want the kids to have something simple and play, but then you get something at the last 8 minutes where you're like, this seems really ineffective. I don't know why we're doing this. But at this point, it shows, because if Hendersonville had a chance to be competitive in Ravenwood, you need something like that. So maybe they go back and they review some things, because it sounds necessary at that point if you want to win football games at a higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think I've seen more evolution out of the game from James Beasley, head coach of the Commandos. Their Commando style has always been out of the wing tee, but they've definitely evolved it. It's just it seems like it's a slower climb than what maybe I would prefer, just being the play-by-play voice. But I'm not. Obviously, I'm not playing Madden. I'm not controlling everything that's going on. So it's not tough. I do got to give a shout out though to the Ravenwood press box. They had quesadillas, they had chicken tenders, and they had burgers all in there for the press box. So I had a lot of food in between timeouts and things like that. So that was really nice. I appreciate them for putting out a big spread when a star like myself shows up.
Yeah, man. Hey, who does Hendersonville play next week? Can you remind me?
Hendersonville will play Clarksville. It'll be on the road up in your area. So hopefully we'll be talking a week from now, a win for Hendersonville on the road, so they can get back to Shelbyville for their homecoming.
Hey, man, Clarksville struggled out in the beginning of the season. They were 0-2, but since then they've become 3-1. They've had big wins against Rossview, Dixon County. Lost about the same that Hendersonville to Beach, and then they had a big win. They were up 47-0 on Clarksville Northeast at halftime, and then almost lost the game. They gave up 30 unanswered points in the second half, which is hilarious. But I think you and I should have a friendly wager on this. I still have some high school shirts that are probably in mediums that we can maybe talk about when we get into the afternoon stretch next week.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. I'll get you a couple Hendersonville shirts. They're way too small.
Yes, they're not nice. You know my style.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Zach. Always appreciate you calling in, giving us an update on the Commandos. Traditional power in the mid-state. Again, Zach Williams, play-by-play for the Commandos. Anything else, Zach?
That'll be it. You boys have a good rest of your show, and just try to get the blood pressure down from a 110-point game that you just listened to. That's insane.
Yeah, it was really like a fever dream. I appreciate it, Zach. That was Zach Williams, play-by-play announcer for the Hendersonville Commandos. They just came off a loss to one of the Mid-State's biggest public school powers, Ravenwood. Real quick, I wanted to just jump back into the Cure hotline, 615-844-5600. We go to Chris covering Liberty Creek. Chris, what's up, brother?
Well, Liberty Creek loses 29-0 to Good Pasture, but how in the world is Zach getting enchiladas in the press box and then talking about fitting into a medium shirt? Because I'm getting the raw end of the deal over here. I'm going to have to start traveling with Zach on Friday night.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it is what it is. Some things just mean more, I guess. Well, 29-0, Good Pasture. Good Pasture's a pretty good program. What did you see out of Liberty Creek? What does this score tell the entire story of the game? Was it turnovers? How does a zero come out of Liberty Creek? Was it maybe penalties, or was Good Pasture just a shutdown all the way around?
Well, Good Pasture's really good up front, and against a bunch of sophomores, juniors, and a lot of freshmen for Liberty Creek, just overpowered us tonight. It was really a different game from playing Nolensville a few weeks ago, where it was just like a skill position nightmare. Good Pasture, on the other hand, really good in the trenches. Jerron Elkins tonight, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a 65-yard carry for a touchdown. But really, for Liberty Creek, the play that changed the game was the first drive, snapping it, bad snap, and then Good Pasture got a 5-yard touchdown, one play, 5 yards, got a 5-yard touchdown, took the lead. And then their second offensive play, Elkins went 65 yards. So he had literally 2 plays for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they were up early. And then they just kind of cruised the rest of the way. Liberty Creek played pretty well, except for penalties, over 100 yards in penalties tonight, which is very uncharacteristic. And so overall, just overpowered by a more experienced and a definitely bigger Goodpasture football team.
That's interesting. In our own Mid-State Checkdown high school game of the week with Davidson County Nashville Christian, we actually had a ton of penalties, maybe like 180 yards probably combined between both of the teams. And I think it's interesting just seeing hearing about these penalty issues. Zach, who called in, said Hendersonville had penalty issues, and we're getting into week 5 and 6. And you would figure that these issues actually start to go away. Teams get more comfortable. They start playing together. They're in a groove. But it seems to be going the opposite. Do you have any insight as to why that would be, Chris?
Well, for us, I kind of feel like I gave the announcer jinx to Coach Bill Alexander in the pregame interview, because we talked about how that we've been pretty fundamental and not had a lot of penalties, not had a lot of bad snaps. And so tonight we had 5 bad snaps, 3 of them on special teams, one of them resulting in a safety, and then, 2 fumbles on offense that we got back, nearly threw 2 interceptions. And quarterback Brian Rager ended 11 for 15 for 74 yards. But it's really been one of those things where we've been pretty fundamental all season and just couldn't get out of our own way. And a lot of that comes from the Goodpasture pressure up front. Rager was kind of running for his life in the middle of the field. I will say, for those Division II teams that play Goodpasture, you're going to get a really good defensive team up front, but Goodpasture did not cover the middle of the field well tonight at all. In fact, Rager was able to complete the majority of his passes right in the middle of the field, and we actually scored on a 52-yard touchdown that was brought back on a block in the back that I've already seen the film on, and not to criticize officials, but they kind of missed that one. It was a phantom call.
Hey, Chris, I got a quick question for you. I wanted to ask you, now we're at the midseason point of high school football. Where do you feel like Liberty Creek sits right now in terms of where they are in the midseason?
So 2-4. We're going to take a week off next week.
Nice.
And, we're not playing, of course, as we talked about before, for playoffs because we're not in a region this year.
Right.
We're going to play Crittenden County, which is a 2A team out of Kentucky, in 2 weeks. Then we go to Oakland. Then we go to Chattanooga Central. You think you might have a chance against Crittenden County. Those last 2 games are going to be really tough. So that potentially sets up a 3-6 mark at best going into what is now an added game in week 12 against Ezell Harding. We'll have to play that game on a Thursday night because everybody else will be playing the playoffs in the first week of November. So, you got a chance against Ezell Harding. We've got a common opponent with Chattanooga Prep, and so you hope that you could get a win there and maybe finish at best about 4-6. And I think going into a first-year program, if you would have said 3 or 4 wins, everybody would have said that's a pretty successful season.
Absolutely. I was a part of a program in high school that played 100 years, and my last 3 seasons we couldn't win 5 games. So I appreciate you hopping on, covering the Liberty Creek, kind of a historic season, and it's cool we get to be a part of that, and you get to come on and let us know, Chris. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for having us, and next week find out where Zach's going, and we'll find out where the good food.
Well, yeah, we'll pull up and party over with him.
That's right.
I appreciate it, Chris. Have a good one. That's Chris covering Liberty Creek. Real quick, we need to hit a break. You're listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike, Southern Trophy has been serving Nashville and Middle Tennessee for over 62 years. Southern Trophy offers a wide array of services like custom-designed awards, cast bronze plaques, etched crystal awards, laser-engraved corporate gifts, promotional items, merch, embroidery, screen printing, signage, and banners. Browse their entire collection online at southerntrophy.com or on Facebook at Southern Trophy. Feel free to give them a call at 615-256-7295. That's 615-256-7295. Southern Trophy. They do their best to help you recognize your best.
It's the Bill King Show.
I do acknowledge that the South's where the best football is played because it's a fact. I also appreciate the free flow of ideas. That's what makes our world wonderful, is the free flow of ideas. Robust debate. You disagreeing is wonderful. It's stimulating. If I'm an SEC snob to you, so be it.
Weekday mornings beginning at 6 on Sports Radio 560 on 95.9 FM.
Sir Speedy is a proud sponsor of high school football on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. At Sir Speedy Music City, we provide commercial print, signs, and mailing services to companies all over Tennessee and actually all over the world. If you need anything like that, you give us a call, 615-832-9511, SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are a proud sponsor of high school athletics on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. Call us at 615-832-9511. Go to the web at SirSpeedyMusicCity.com or email us at print@SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are the official sign company of the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Austin Hardy is your go-to agent in the Middle Tennessee community for the service you desire at the price you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Austin Hardy has you covered. Call 615-810-9999 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
If you're in the mood for quality burgers and handmade milkshakes, Mooyah is where you need to be. With 2 locations in Brentwood and Franklin, Mooyah is your only choice for handcrafted Angus beef burgers, fresh cut fries, and homemade ice cream milkshakes. With vegan, paleo, and keto options, Mooyah has something for every taste. Order online, dine in, or carry out. Located in Brentwood and in Franklin off West McEwen Drive. For the best quality and the best taste at the best price, make it Mooyah.
With 13 locations nationally, including Smyrna, Star Leasing Company is a semi-trailer one-stop shop and the perfect place to build a career as a semi-trailer mechanic. Seeking candidates with all levels of experience, Star Leasing Company has a semi-trailer technician trainee program with sign-on and quarterly bonuses and other opportunities such as $1,000 for having a yearly physical. The package also includes 401k with company match, health, dental, and vision insurance, competitive pay with weekly paychecks, and paid holidays and time off. Star Leasing Company, not your typical semi-trailer leasing company. Visit starleasing.com to learn more.
Welcome back to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show with 2 guys who can't wear the correct size shirts, Bruno Reagan and Ray Dosky.
Welcome back to the Mid-State Checkdown Scoreboard Update. That's Bruno Reagan. I'm Ray Dosky and Devin McKenzie behind the boards. Let's go back to the Cure Hotline. We've got Terry who covered Westmoreland and Clay County. What's going on, Terry?
How you doing, Ray?
I'm not bad. How about you, buddy? Heard homecoming tonight in Westmoreland, huh?
It was homecoming tonight, and the Eagles escaped, and I mean escaped, with a 20-19 victory over previously unbeaten Clay County.
Oh, that's a big win.
By the way, this was one of the, and I'm not usually one to say this was one of the most poorly officiated games I've seen in a long time for both sides.
That's crazy.
We've been hearing that all night about penalties.
We've been hearing penalties, poorly officiated. Well, Terry, autumn or fall just started yesterday. I think was the official day. Do you think it's the weather? Maybe something like
in the air?
Yeah.
I don't know, but there was probably combined 200 yards of penalties with all the, because it started getting a little chippy because teams were doing a little talking back and forth. They were little extracurricular stuff, cheap shots here and there, and then it started to get out of hand in the second quarter, and then there was 2 guys got into a fight in the third quarter, and it was just terrible calls all the way around, in terms of just simply not really knowing how to take control of the game and how to enforce the rules. But, moving on from that, the way the game ended was crazy. The game was 7-7 at halftime. Each team, Clay County scored first, and then Westmoreland answered with a touchdown drive on the next possession. Then in the third quarter, thanks to some penalties, Clay County got in position to score, and that was the drive where the fight took place. And they were able to punch it in, missed the extra point, and it was 13-7. Then it stayed that way until the fourth quarter with about 9 minutes to go when Marshall Booker, who's a defensive tackle for Westmoreland, intercepted a screen pass and returned it to the 7-yard line, but there was a holding penalty, so it brought it back to the 17, and the Eagles were able to score the tying touchdown from there. They missed the extra point as well. Then late in the game, Westmoreland scored again, and then to make it 20-13. Then Clay County comes down. They've got, about 2 minutes and change left. They get down with 52 seconds left. It's 4th and 7 at about the Westmoreland 42. They heave a ball down the middle of the field that a Westmoreland defender goes up, bats the ball, tips the ball, deflects it into the air. Not the intended Clay County receiver, but another guy who was in the area picks it out of the air, starts running with the football a la Franco Harris. He gets in trouble at about the 15-yard line. He has the presence of mind to lateral it back to the guy who was the actual intended receiver, and he scored on the play.
We're talking Franco Harris.
Yeah.
Earlier, Greg was talking about Frank Tarkenton. Like, we're going through all these flashbacks to, like, the old timers.
I mean, what a crazy week of football. But wait a minute, Terry. So the score was 20-13, and then he scores, but the final is 20-19. What happened?
It was 20-19. Clay County decided because the kicker had missed so badly on the previous extra point, and I guess, maybe because they were on the road and had some momentum from the play that just happened, they decided to go for two. The Eagles, Westmoreland got a nice pass rush on the 2-point pass play, and the quarterback, Nate Adams, heaved it toward the end zone, and it bounced incomplete, and Westmoreland was able to hang on and win 20-19.
Wow, that is the craziest thing I've heard of. I've covering like 4 games. So we have our game, then we had Zach call in, then we had we're gonna have Brady call in about Clarksville and the shutout, and then we have this one with Westmoreland. I'm absolutely overwhelmed with the high school slate today. This has been crazy to hear about. So Terry, who were the top performers for Westmoreland coming out of this close contest?
Yeah, who really stood out?
Yeah.
Booker really played well because after one of his teammates was ejected in the fight, he really, Booker had gotten hurt at the end of the first half, and he gutted it out. He plays center on offense, plays defensive tackle on defense, and he really made a couple of big plays there, on that defensive line. And when he got the interception, that certainly turned the momentum. Cameron Eden, Westmoreland's quarterback, had 2 rushing touchdowns. The Eagles got some good running from Matt Law and Eli Stafford. So it was really several guys stepped up and stood out in a really hard-fought win that really both 2 good football teams kind of going at it at the lower levels, Westmoreland being 2A and Clay County being 1A.
So what's the outlook for Westmoreland here on the rest of the season? 4-2, they beat a very good Clay County team. Clay County was undefeated and handled. No one scored more than 7 points against Clay County coming into this contest, and Clay County didn't score less than 38 against anybody else. So this seems like a big win for Westmoreland. Are we thinking playoff run for the Westmoreland Eagles?
It is. This was not a region game, but they're back in region play next week. They go to Whites Creek, and then I believe they have the fall break bye the week after that, and they come back, and then they'll play East Robertson, and that should be for the region championship. Both those teams are unbeaten in region play right now, the only teams without a loss.
Awesome. Well, that's a good matchup to look forward to. Terry, I appreciate you calling in, brother, and keeping us updated on Westmoreland.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Later, Terry.
Later, Terry. Have a good one.
Later.
Real quick, I want to keep on it. We have a lot of good callers coming in, keeping us updated with the Mid-State and all the top programs, keeping us updated. So we're going to go to the Cure Hotline. Will with JB2. Will, what's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? So close contest with BGA today. What do we see from there?
I will say one thing. BGA, this is going to sound really sarcastic, but there's a lot of truth. That's the best 0-6 team I've seen.
Yeah.
They're a really young team. They came out. They did what I expected them to do. Coach Rodriguez, he talked to me. He said that they're going to hold on to the football. They didn't have a lot of drives, but the drives that they had, they did something with. That game literally went down to the last drive. Poe Prep won 34-27. Both teams missed an extra point. Both teams had a blocked extra point. At first, special teams was the only thing keeping JP2 in the game. They had 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown in the first half. Austin Ford from BGA, that's a tough little running back. When I talked to Coach Rodriguez earlier this week, he compared him to Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook. Wow, that's a strong comparison there.
Yeah.
And when I looked at him run, he always fell forward. It was, 2 here, 5 here, 7 there, 12 here. JP2 came into the game with a lot of injuries. Kenny Minchie was out. Elijah Robb was out. Ainsley Ware didn't play. So those are the top 3 players on the team on both sides of the football. A lot of injuries today. Will Johnson went down. I mean, our injury report, it got pretty lengthy at one point in time. But I think what I can say, and even JP2 had to use a third quarterback. They started a freshman. His name is Debbie Nelson. Did what he could, still learning the offense. His arm is still maturing. Did some good things when he was in the game, but injured early in the second quarter. Chet Lax, who is a starting receiver for the Knights, I mean, a very athletic young man, he came off the bench and threw 2 touchdown passes. And so, I mean, it was literally next man up. And the last thing that Coach Snead and I talked about was he gave me a statement. It was called rotational leadership. And basically that meant, you know, who was going to step up in those uncertain areas. And tonight, I mean, Chet Lax, Denarius Perry was all over the field defensively. Solomon Brooks, who's more successful on the defensive side. I mean, he ran hard tonight, not even really looked at as a physical running back, more of a finesse back, but he ran with some physicality tonight. But that BGA team, I mean, that's a young team led by Coach Giannis Rodriguez. I don't see that team finishing the season 0-10. I really don't. Like, that's a really good team. A lot of sophomores, not a lot of size. I mean, good passer. They got a lot coming at them next week.
Now, Will, I wanted to talk to you real quick. We haven't had you on in a few weeks. So in between that kind of intermission between us, Pope Prep is 5-1, but they did take more of a lopsided loss to Baylor. Can you just review that game, because you guys are going to be going into a similar situation, a top private school in NBA next week? What did Pope Prep see in that game in Baylor in their only loss of the season, and how can they translate that into a better outing against NBA?
Well, against Baylor, I'll just be honest, Baylor was the better team. Pope Prep, I think in school history, has only beaten that team twice. Once in the playoffs, once in the regular season. A lot of injuries in that game as well. But knowing what I know about Coach Snead, injuries are not an excuse. I mean, at Pope Prep, their motto is they choose the shield. And, you know, do you choose the shield on every play? And they always want to live and compete like Christ. So I'm still trying to learn the motto. But that's what they go at. That's what they go by there. And last week, I mean, they ran into a team now in Baylor, last time I checked, 2-0 in the region. And so everyone expecting McCallie to be at the top of the region right now, they were defeated by NBA. So, you know, NBA stopped that 18-game winning streak. Not much to say about Baylor. Baylor was just a better team.
Yeah. Well, you're going into the MyTV 30 Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week. So are there any keys to success for JP2 or Pope Prep to try and edge out against NBA?
I think from my perspective, and it's funny, I actually work for Sinclair Broadcasting, but for JP2, for me, for them to win next week, you know, you have to sustain drives, play assignment football on the defensive side, and limit the undisciplined penalties. I use this line, and sadly I've used it all year, undisciplined penalties at unneeded times in a ball game. And that's honestly, guys, what lost BGA the game today. On their final drive, they had an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. One of the offensive linemen, one of the referees, were trying to break up a foul. He yanked his arm away from the referee, and the referee instantly threw the flag. So when that happened, you know, the BGA lost some momentum. JP2 came out with 2 consecutive sacks. I mean, it was 3rd and Fairview, you know, for BGA, and they couldn't do anything with it. And, I mean, again, coming back to the BGA game, this team, they fought hard, but like I said, against NBA, you just got to sustain drives, limit unneeded penalties, and play assignment football on the defensive side. And I feel like if they can do that, with NBA coming to JP2 next week, I think JP2 has a shot to win that game if they can do those 3 or 4 mentioned things.
Well, Will, I appreciate you calling in, brother, and keeping us updated. I hope you have a good one.
Yes, so you guys do the same thing. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, Will. That's Will covering Pope Prep, otherwise formerly known as JP2. They will be hosting NBA, the consensus number 2 team on the Max Preps Tennessee Top 25. Pope Prep, they're not a cupcake themselves. They're 5-1. Real quick, we're going to head to a break. Afterwards, we have Brady, who will be from Main Street Prep, who had to cover my alma mater, Clarksville, in another wild game against Northeast. I just had to get the scoop on this game, and you'll see why here after the break. You're listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Dry rub wings are back at Slim Chickens. Fresh, fried, and full of flavor. Like smooth and kickin' cayenne ranch, zesty lemon pepper, or turn it up with new spicy Nashville hot. Try them today with a meal or feed your hungry crowd. But hurry, they're only back for a limited time. At Slim's, bold flavor is what we do. Download the Slim Chickens app to order and earn rewards.
Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike, Southern Trophy has been serving Nashville and Middle Tennessee for over 62 years. Southern Trophy offers a wide array of services like custom-designed awards, cast bronze plaques, etched crystal awards, laser-engraved corporate gifts, promotional items, merch, embroidery, screen printing, signage, and banners. Browse their entire collection online at southerntrophy.com or on Facebook at Southern Trophy. Feel free to give them a call at 615-256-7295. That's 615-256-7295. Southern Trophy. They do their best to help you recognize your best.
Hey, it's Sammy Kincaid, host of Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 10, listen in as I highlight women in sports from high school to the pros, athletes and administrators. And you know what? Let's talk some ball with women covering the game across the country. Power Hour with Sammy Kincaid is every Saturday morning. Listen in on Nashville Sports Radio from 9 to 10 a.m.
Sir Speedy is a proud sponsor of high school football on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. At Sir Speedy Music City, we provide commercial print, signs, and mailing services to companies all over Tennessee and actually all over the world. If you need anything like that, you give us a call, 615-832-9511, SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are a proud sponsor of high school athletics on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. Call us at 615-832-9511. Go to the web at SirSpeedyMusicCity.com or email us at print@SirSpeedyMusicCity.com. We are the official sign company of the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Austin Hardy is your go-to agent in the Middle Tennessee community for the service you desire at the price you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Austin Hardy has you covered. Call 615-810-9999 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
If you're in the mood for quality burgers and handmade milkshakes, Mooyah is where you need to be. With 2 locations in Brentwood and Franklin, Mooyah is your only choice for handcrafted Angus beef burgers, fresh cut fries, and homemade ice cream milkshakes. With vegan, paleo, and keto options, Mooyah has something for every taste. Order online, dine in, or carry out. Located in Brentwood and in Franklin off West McEwen Drive. For the best quality and the best taste at the best price, make it Mooyah. You're listening to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show with Bruno Reagan and Ray Dosky.
Welcome back to Mid-State Checkdown. Bruno Reagan, Ray Dosky. Want to get to the Cure Hotline. New caller. We got Brady with Main Street. He was covering the Clarksville, which is my alma mater, Northeast game. And Clarksville looked like they had it in the bag, and then I'm seeing Brady's tweets, and he's also collectively losing his mind, it seems like. So let's get him on. Brady, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm still trying to make sense of what exactly I just saw.
Yeah, so I'm pretty close with Clarksville. I go back every now and then. I can't obviously go to the games because I'm doing this show, but I talk to the coaches every now and then, and I'm sure they'll have an explanation. But I want to hear an unbiased opinion. What in the heck happened? And tell the people that don't know how the score 47-30 came about.
Yeah, so like you say, the score was 47-30. What that score doesn't show is that each team got shut out in half, bizarrely, right?
Yeah.
Each team, so Clarksville High led 47-0 at halftime. They put some subs in after the break, and Northeast proceeded to score 30 unanswered points in the second half. which is, just insane. I'm trying to write the story and trying to structure this to it makes some sense of it, like I said, it's hard to say, man. High school football can be really weird, and that's part of why people love it, right?
Yeah.
You love going out knowing not exactly what you're going to see. But yeah, Clarksville High, they were definitely the better team. It's pretty clear. You don't score 47 points in the first half without being the much better team. Coach Isaac Shelby, really good coach, obviously in the area, one of the good coaches, good guys in the mid-state. He did say that he probably subbed his guys too early. He didn't want to risk injuries with a game against Hendersonville coming up next week. But yeah, just overall pretty bizarre.
Well, Brady, when I was looking at your tweets earlier too, most people know Northeast was where Isaac Shelby actually made it to the state finals. That was back when I played, I think my senior year, 2014. And then he took the Clarksville High job. And I was watching your tweets, and I'm seeing Clarksville's up 27-0, really early in the game, and they're kicking onside kicks. Is that a normal thing for Clarksville High, or is he trying to run up the score or make it an early lead? I was just so perplexed by the unorthodoxness of what was being tweeted.
Yeah, it was pretty strange. Isaac he's not really a guy that's going to go to run up the score. But, with this being a rivalry game, Clarksville and Northeast is a pretty good rivalry. Up there with Clarksville and Rossview, I know that's really the big one in the city. But Clarksville and Northeast, these guys don't necessarily love each other. So I think he wanted to, try to bury them pretty early. You got that huge lead early on, and, why not try to add on a little bit more, get yourself that extra cushion.
Yeah, did you? And also, he pulls, we get to the halftime, he comes out, we're playing the third quarter, he pulls the starters. Did he ever at any point go, oh, I need to put the starters back in? Or did the starters ever go back in, or did they just ride the maybe the backups out to the end of the game, still feeling pretty confident that no other crazy magic will happen at the last 2 minutes?
Well, so the running clock, they didn't end the running clock until I think it was 47-20, which was about halfway through the second quarter, or rather second quarter of the second half. It felt like the second quarter because it felt like two different games. But it was, I think he left the second stringers in pretty much the entire second half. He wanted to get them reps, obviously, and they got reps and definitely showed.
Was it ever threatened? Was Clarksville's lead ever really threatened? Was there an iota of, oh my gosh, this is actually going to happen? Or was it decently put away, and maybe the score is just kind of a funny thing to talk about?
I actually had that thought at one point. Once they made it 47-20, I was like, so what would it take for Northeast to actually make this a game? But I think it was there was 112 left once they got their 30th. Once they got that last touchdown, that's still 17 points. It's still a 3-score game. So I don't think anyone at any point was really necessarily expecting them to come back. But just the fact that thought even crossed anyone's mind after it was 47-0 is pretty incredible.
Well, let me ask you this, and this feels like a weird question for me to ask, but I feel like this game warrants it. Was the Northeast coaches playing to win? And what I mean by that is, would they score a touchdown and try an onside knowing that time was against them when they got to maybe 21-ish points or 24? Or so was there still an air of them coaching to win, or was it just kind of the players making plays as they were riding out the second half?
Yeah, so after it was 47-22, they actually did recover the onside kick, then went and scored again pretty quickly. So they were definitely playing to win. 2 of their touchdowns, they had an 89-yard touchdown, and then on their next possession, a 75-yard touchdown. So they were throwing verts, man. They were definitely going out there and trying to score.
Brady, this is Ray. While we're covering the game on our station,
covering our own game,
Nashville Christian and Davis Academy, which had its own craziness, and we're watching. Bruno's checking your tweets about the Clarksville game, and he's saying, "Is this really going to happen? Is this really happening where they're going to lose?" They get the win. Next week, you got homecoming against Bruno Reagan's co-host on the afternoon stretch with Hendersonville.
Yeah,
that's right.
How do you see that matchup happening?
Man, Hendersonville, they're not quite as good as they were last year. They lost a lot of really good players, but Hendersonville is still a heck of a program. CHS getting this win, their starters obviously went out there and put on a clinic in that first half, so they're definitely going to be feeling good. It's tough to say, though. Hendersonville has played some really, really good teams. I believe they played Oakland already this year. best team CHS has played, probably between Beach and Springfield. So they don't necessarily have that massive game, experience that CHS has as of right now. But I think it'll definitely be closer than it was last year.
Yeah, Brady, and Clarksville didn't get maybe a hot start, but they have fought back, and they're currently 3-3 now, and they're vying for a playoff spot. With what you saw tonight, can Clarksville maybe cross that 5-6 win threshold and try and make a run at the playoff? Because if there's one thing I know for certain, Isaac Shelby is a master in the playoffs. I mean, his Northeast team that went to the finals, they were actually like a 5-5 team, and then they just make a run in the playoffs. So do you think this Clarksville High team could be one of those, get 5-6 wins again in the playoff type team?
Yeah, I mean, I think 5 is going to be the bare minimum for what they get. They still have West Creek, who they should beat, and Maplewood, who they're probably going to beat the brakes off of. As far as getting 6 wins, they have Hendersonville and Gallatin, both home games, which is big. I think they definitely have a chance to beat Gallatin. Hendersonville is going to be a bit of a tougher matchup. But like you said, I mean, Isaac Shelby is just a great coach in the postseason. I mean, last year, as the number 4 seed, they went and beat Cane Ridge in the first round before losing to Beach. But at the same time, man, I mean, they'll tell you they should have beaten McGavick week 1. Demetrius Bell, who at the time was a Michigan State commit, had a heck of a game there, but they absolutely should have won that game. So they should at least be 4-2 at the moment. So, I mean, I think this team is better than the record shows.
Man, if I could tell you how many times I've looked at my records at Vanderbilt and been like, we should have been a 9-win team, we should have been there. So I totally get the discourse, but this is not how it ends up. And I mean, Clarksville's still calling back to a respectable season, I think. So it's good to hear it. Brady, I appreciate you hopping on with us, kind of guiding us through that story. And hopefully I get you to call in more, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Brady. That was Brady with Make Sure You Prep, covering the Clarksville High Northeast game. Ray, you look like you're a man with a thought. What's up?
It's a small one, yes. McGavick, yes.
Do we have any other thoughts other than small ones, you and I?
This one's just a small one, yes. You're talking about the McGavick team just went 5-1 after the win tonight. I mean, that's a big team, and you guys should won against them. I mean, that could change everything. Right now, you're at 3-3. You're a Clarksville alum. How do you feel like midseason-wise where your team sits right now?
Well, I'm one of those weird guys. Clarksville High has always been a pretty strong program. I think they went to the playoff for like 12 years in a row.
Right.
Until my year. And then we didn't go to the playoff. And we actually didn't go to the playoff my junior or senior year. Oddly enough, I was one of the best wrestlers ever to come out of Clarksville High School. I have no problem saying that. And my senior year, we ruined a 16-year-long streak of going to state. So my time at Clarksville High, I had a great individual success, but obviously Thanos sucked it out of everyone else on the team and the field, I guess. So my Clarksville High teams were never very good. So watching them now, I feel like I don't have any leverage to be like, oh, they're not living up to the standard. They're doing great in my eyes. So, hey, and if Clarksville, I pray to Isaac Shelby now.
I feel like I know what's coming here. Yeah, say it.
Beat Hendersonville, please.
Do you like your chances?
Yeah.
Do you like your team's chances?
Because Hendersonville's having it down here. This is a very Vanderbilt versus Georgia-esque, if I had to compare it to anything. Clarksville High is a decent enough team to where they could be like compared to a Vanderbilt in the SEC, but they're still bottom end of a lot of the mid-state teams in the history. Hendersonville has a lot of history in this mid-state. They're having a down year right now, believe it or not. So whereas I think they're 2-3 right now, but they're still like better than a Clarksville or even a McGavick, a Hendersonville team is. They just play in a very tough region. That Murfreesboro region isn't, it's not something to sleep on. But every now and then, a Vanderbilt will be a Georgia. I did that. Shout out me. I'm hoping that happens with Clarksville. I'm hoping a Clarksville kind of just catches Hendersonville on a down year. Clarksville has a good game. Everything goes the right way. And it's start of fall, baby. You got to get ready for that cold weather, all these penalties apparently, and who knows what kind of game we're going to get when they play. It could be 2-3 at this point. You know how we just scored 110 points today. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some ridiculous score for the Clarksville Hendersonville game. And I'm just hoping I get to see Zach wear some stupid small shirt.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you talking about getting ready for the weather. I'm pretty sure you're getting ready for that T-shirt. Have you already picked out the T-shirt that Zach's going to wear?
No, I haven't. But I know I have a lot at my parents' house. I leave a lot of the clothes I wore in high school there. And I mean, my freshman year. Listen, right now I'm like 6'3.5", 6'4", 360. Back then, I was probably 6 foot, 6'1", 205 my freshman year, and I got some shirts from there.
Well, isn't Zach cutting weight now?
Hey, listen. I've been saying
I haven't produced in a while on the show, but I mean, like before I stopped, it was just like he was always like, you always flexing and all that. And
hey, I've been saying I've been cutting weight for months since I got back from the USFL, and I haven't lost like a pound. And Zach is the same story. So I would try, but you brought in some delicious pizzas today. So real quick, do you want to shout out who?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I was over at New York Pie tonight, grabbed some pizzas, kind of talked with him a little bit, possibly hopping on with National Sports Radio. He hooked us with some pies. It's good stuff. Much loved, I believe. You can find him out in Bellevue over at West Nashville, where the Target and Best Buy shopping center. Awesome place. Nice. Awesome.
Definitely give him a shout out for feeding the show. That's we go late. We need calories. We need energy. Real quick. So the format of the show will be: we're about to go to a break. When we get out, I'll do the scoreboard update for the entire Mid-State all in one go. Me and Ray will just kind of circle around, make sure we hit on everything else of note, and then we'll end the show. So stay tuned. You're listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
With 13 locations nationally, including Smyrna, Star Leasing Company is a semi-trailer one-stop shop and the perfect place to build a career as a semi-trailer mechanic. Seeking candidates with all levels of experience, Star Leasing Company has a semi-trailer technician trainee program with sign-on and quarterly bonuses and other opportunities such as $1,000 for having a yearly physical. The package also includes 401k with company match, health, dental, and vision insurance, competitive pay with weekly paychecks, and paid holidays and time off. Star Leasing Company, not your typical semi-trailer leasing company. Visit starleasing.com to learn more.
Dry rub wings are back at Slim Chickens. Fresh, fried, and full of flavor. Like smooth and kickin' cayenne ranch, zesty lemon pepper, or turn it up with new spicy Nashville hot. Try them today with a meal or feed your hungry crowd. But hurry, they're only back for a limited time. At Slim's, bold flavor is what we do. Download the Slim Chickens app to order and earn rewards.
Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike, Southern Trophy has been serving Nashville and Middle Tennessee for over 62 years. Southern Trophy offers a wide array of services like custom-designed awards, cast bronze plaques, etched crystal awards, laser-engraved corporate gifts, promotional items, merch, embroidery, screen printing, signage, and banners. Browse their entire collection online at southerntrophy.com or on Facebook at Southern Trophy. Feel free to give them a call at 615-256-7295. That's 615-256-7295. Southern Trophy. They do their best to help you recognize your best.
Get all your NASCAR news every weekday right here on the Final Lap. Hey, it's Kerry Murphy, and another non-playoff driver in the form of Chris Buescher takes the win at Bristol Motor Speedway. 12 of the 16 playoff drivers had problems. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick are eliminated. Up next is Texas. So grab all the latest NASCAR news, race recaps, driver interviews, stats, and info every single weekday right here.
Hi, this is Chris Buescher, and you're listening to The Final Lap with Kerry Murphy.
Every single weekday right here.
Surf Speedy is a proud sponsor of high school football on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. At Surf Speedy Music City, we provide commercial print, signs, and mailing services to companies all over Tennessee and actually all over the world. If you need anything like that, you give us a call, 615-832-9511, surfspeedymusiccity.com. We are a proud sponsor of high school athletics on WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. Call us at 615-832-9511. Go to the web at surfspeedymusiccity.com or email us at print@surfspeedymusiccity.com. We are the official sign company of the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Game of the Week.
Did you know there's a place where you can get good neighbor service and surprisingly great rates on home and auto insurance? Yep, and that place is, ta-da, State Farm. Here's the deal. State Farm agent Austin Hardy is your go-to agent in the Middle Tennessee community for the service you desire at the price you want. So stop shopping around. State Farm agent Austin Hardy has you covered. Call 615-810-9999 for your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
If you're in the mood for quality burgers and handmade milkshakes, Mooyah is where you need to be. With 2 locations in Brentwood and Franklin, Mooyah is your only choice for handcrafted Angus beef burgers, fresh cut fries, and homemade ice cream milkshakes. With vegan, paleo, and keto options, Mooyah has something for every taste. Order online, dine in, or carry out. Located in Brentwood and in Franklin off West McEwen Drive. For the best quality and the best taste at the best price, make it Mooyah. Welcome back to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show with your hosts, SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week, Bruno Reagan and Ray Dosky.
Welcome back to Mid-State Checkdown, Bruno Reagan, Ray Dosky. Real quick, I did make a promise. I wanted us to get all the scores from the Mid-State, so let's go to a scoreboard update.
Scoreboard update from the Strike and Spare studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, please bear with me. We had a lot of callers, a lot of insight. We needed to get that out. And now we're about to run through all the Mid-State scores. So, as we go through, make sure you pay attention if you're looking for a specific team. All right? Here we go. Centennial defeats Dixon County 24-0. Sewers Creek defeats Lavernage 38-0. And Harpeth defeats McElwain McElwain defeats Harpeth 48-26. McGavick defeats Franklin 35-14. And Sycamore falls to White House 38-6. Going into Region 7, Clarksville defeats Clarksville Northeast 47-30. John Overton defeats Clarksville Northwest 46-13. And we have East Nashville falling to Independence 32-7. Kenwood, they defeat Shelbyville, close score 27-24. At Henry County, they defeat South Gibson 29-7. And Ravenwood defeats the Hendersonville Commandos 27-10. Springfield defeats Rossville at their homecoming 32-7. And going on to our Division II teams, Baylor blanket Oldwa 35-0. Bowling Green, Kentucky defeats Father Ryan 46-45 in a close game. Father Ryan down with a stretch of bad luck. Middle Tennessee Christian defeats Lakeway Christian 38-21. Grace Christian in Knoxville defeats Notre Dame 35-18. JB2 defeats BGA 34-27. Cane Ridge defeats CPA, big win for them 31-28. Silverdale Academy triumphs over DCA 37-7. Franklin Road Academy defeats St. George 42-14. Grace Christian Franklin defeats Webb School 37-7. And the WNSR Mid-State Checkdown Game of the Week, Nashville Christian defeats Davidson Academy 59-51. Rounding out our last scores, Clarksville Academy defeats Fayetteville Academy 49-28. And NBA defeats Brentwood Academy in a big private school showdown 35-21. And that'll wrap up our Mid-State Checkdown scoreboard update.
I had to say this. Did you
was
not
that good?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Did you not hear your the opener coming back into the show?
What was it?
Unless it's true. If it is, I'm sorry for laughing.
What?
It Bruno Reagan, Offensive Lineman of the Week?
For the SEC when I played Tennessee.
Then I am such a dunce cap.
Wow. Well, what'd you think? What'd you think what it was?
I thought it was like I just thought one of those like little.
Oh, just a stupid
I'm,
joke.
Like you're the high school legend, and I'm the high school graduate.
Yeah.
I think
that was supposed. I can see where Jake's going with that one. That one's supposed to be serious because every time I played Tennessee, I would have my best game ever. I swear to God, I didn't change anything. I would just always play really good against Tennessee in the SEC. I remember exactly where I was. I was in my politics class, sitting in the front right row, and I hear my phone vibrate. And back then, no one texted me. I had no women in my DMs, right? So I knew something was up when that phone vibrated. So I looked at it, and it was a message from the SEC, and it was like, "Congrats, you're the player." And I never felt my heart drop faster. Probably when I got my Vanderbilt offer. So. That's a little insight into that opener, and that's why anytime Tennessee fans message me on Twitter, I instantly just post the picture from that game. So there's.
Then
I
take that back because I had no idea. I thought because you never know with Eric, he just throws all these kind of crazy stuff. But you talked about game of the week. We literally had the game of the week on this station today.
We did, yeah, 110 points collectively. In the NFL, the National Football League, the league with all the pros, the best football players in the world, the highest a game that has ever been scored was 113. Davidson Academy and Nashville Christian scored 110, so they were 3 points off. And really, they could have outscored them. We were on the fourth down right at the very end, and my favorite thing is My favorite soundbite was the post-game interview where the Nashville Christian coach goes, listen, I'm going to be honest, I love our boys on defense. I didn't think they were going to stop them.
He's telling the truth because you look at this team.
That's why I love high school coaches.
We were watching the defense, and on both teams, they looked like they were asleep the entire time. Like they were just like non-existent. And what did they do? It wasn't an offensive play that actually won the game. It was a defensive stop on 4th down and short. Inches.
Yeah. That is the most defensive thing I've ever heard in my life. If you don't understand the difference between offensive and defensive football, on offense, your all 11 are expected to execute at the perfect level on every single play, typically 60 to 70 snaps. If you're a defensive player, you can have the worst game in the world for 60 snaps, and then you get three of those plays, you get a sack, and all of a sudden you're the greatest guy in the world. And so that's defense wrapped up in a nutshell. These defenses give up 110 points total. They should be running forevers after this. You know how they run 4-4s, 4-5s, 4-6? Well, start running forever. That's what they should be doing. But Nashville Christian's defense comes up with an extremely clutch play. One clutch play. That's all they needed.
Because I was making fun of it because they were talking about on air when they were doing the play-by with Joe Fisher and Greg. They were talking about like they were needing multiple plaques to hand out because you just didn't know who to award. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, there's going to be a ton of plaques that should be on your way. You know who's not getting one? It's the defense. Well, guess what? I decided to say, you know what? Maybe they did deserve that because when they woke up when it counted.
And maybe to break a little kayfabe here, deep down, I know Greg and Joe, they really wanted to give their Game of the Week plaque to the one defensive player that made the last tackle because that would have stopped them from going into a shootout overtime. Yeah. And they would have been tortured after that. They would have been 100%.
I wonder if Greg
tortured.
found that unicorn.
Oh, yeah. Greg, I mean, they were absolutely aghast. You can kind of, so with the story of this game, you can kind of hear as there's laughing and joking as we get to halftime, like, what's going on? And then by the third quarter, everyone's just so overstimulated. We're like, I guess we're just going to,
we were in studio.
Yeah, it's like how you've seen Independence Day, right, with Will Smith. It's just like you walk outside and the UFOs are here, and you're just like, well, I guess this is really happening. That's what it felt like watching this game.
I mean, it was just a game. You know, it was a game that I felt like was probably the best game that we've had on air.
Absolutely.
Since the kickoff of the high school football season. And I felt like it was one of those games you just didn't want it to end because you're just like, well, we didn't want it to end, but we, like you talked about with Joe and Greg, like it was a game that deserved to go into overtime, I felt like, because it just like was back and forth and stuff. But 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Nashville Christian makes a big stop, 4th and inches. They stop the run, which they haven't done all night. I mean, I think that it was Simmons had, 5 touchdowns? I mean, he
putting up mad numbers.
Over 200 yards rushing to the right side. And this time they decided to go to the left side, and guess what? Stop short. And that was the game.
These are the type of games where people audition for bigger programs. Real quick, I wanted us to go through the rest of our mid-state checkdown game of the weeks. We'll get our schedule, and then we are going to play a clip from the game, and that'll wrap up our show, all right? So real quick, I want to go over the next games we have. On the 29th of this month, we have Station Camp at Mount Juliet. October, we have Overton at Cane Ridge. On the 7th, October 14th, Pearl Cone at Greenbrier. The 20th, Brentwood Academy at Ensworth. And then wrapping up our high school football checkdown game of the week will be our last week, the 28th of October, Ravenwood at Independence. Now, real quick, I have a clip from their game tonight. Let's go to Devlin and get that playing.
Back. Play action, looking to throw, has a world of time. Looking long downfield, has a man, caught, touchdown! Touchdown, Nashville Christian. He had tremendous protection, and he hit Toll right on the button in the end zone for the score.
I was one play behind.
And you can see the coaches on the sideline. He just puts his hand on his head like, what is going on? And I think you could probably say that from most, if not all, the fans, as well as Joe and Greg, as they're calling this game tonight. They just have their hands on their head like, it's just one of those nights. And we thought that it was going to be fire. We didn't know it was going to be what two games to expect tonight. Fireworks kicked off 5 minutes into it with a 50-yard punt return for a touchdown. Then the quick answer on the opposite side, and then they were off.
Here's the last thing I'll say before we head out for another week. That clip is 100% my favorite because we were really blessed to have Joe Fisher on call. It's crazy because he called my college games, and then I would, now I'm here working with him, and I get to hear him call these games, and he does a great job with that call. It's late in the game, high energy, and then at the very end, you just have Greg go, whoa! So I just thought that was a perfect summarization of the entire day, week. I mean, appreciate you, Ray, Devlin. Y'all did great. Adam, Joe, Greg.
What?
We have a great team.
Remember
What?
Greg said what?
What? Oh, yeah. He said what on air. That was absolutely hilarious, too. So, another great week by everybody here at WNSR. This was the Mid-State Checkdown post-game show with Bruno Reagan, Ray Dosky, and Devlin McKenzie. We're going to sign off until next week. Appreciate you guys. You have been listening to WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
You've been listening to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Southern Trophy House, Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes in Brentwood, Sir Speedy of Music City, and the Omni Nashville Hotel. And make sure you're tuned in next week to the Mid-State Checkdown High School Football Scoreboard Show on Nashville's home for high school football, WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.